Maybe it happens in a quiet moment. You are sitting in your car after work, or standing in your kitchen late at night, or lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, while nothing in your life looks visibly wrong. And yet, something feels too small. Not just your job, not just your relationship, not just your plans, your habits, your emotions, or the version of yourself you have been trying to improve. The whole frame of your life begins to feel too small. And then a question appears, not as an idea, not as something you heard in a podcast, not as a spiritual concept you want to understand, but as something living. What is spiritual awakening? Maybe you have heard this question many times before. Maybe you have already formed an opinion about it. Maybe you think awakening means peace, or clarity, or silence, or becoming more positive, or reaching some higher state of consciousness. But one day, the question returns in a different way. It does not come from curiosity alone. It does not come from the mind collecting answers. It comes from somewhere deeper. And because it comes from that deeper place, it can no longer be satisfied by the answers you already know. A spiritual journey is not simply a journey of beliefs. It is a journey of consciousness itself. It is the movement through which perception and experience keep widening, while the layers of confusion, identification, and blindness slowly begin to fall away. And yet, when we say journey, there is already a danger. Because the mind immediately imagines a destination, a point somewhere in the future, a final achievement, a special state, a spiritual finish line where we can finally say, I have arrived. But the true completion of the journey is not another place inside the journey. The true completion of the journey is the falling away of the journey itself. It is not that you reach a point and possess it. It is not that you become someone spiritually successful. It is not that you collect enough insight and finally complete the self. It is more like a runner reaching the finish line. At the exact moment the race is complete, the race falls away from the runner. What matters is not the line painted on the ground. What matters is the release, the exhaustion, the striving, the movement, the pressure. All of it suddenly drops. Only the one who has truly run to the end understands that kind of falling away. The spiritual journey is like that. Every threshold along the way is a place where the current frame of perception becomes filled, strained, broken, and finally released. It is a strange balance between form and formlessness, between the path and the end of the path, between the journey and no journey. And this is important. Awakening is not primarily about gaining something. It is not achievement. It is not acquisition. It is not finding the perfect answer. It is not decorating the self with spiritual language. It is not covering over emptiness with a better story. It is a falling away. But what is it that falls away? To understand this, we have to look at the frame of perception we normally live inside. When you feel that you exist, you are not experiencing existence in some unlimited way. You are experiencing it through a certain shape. I am this body, this person, this life, this history, this position in the world, this private center looking out at everything else. These qualities create a boundary. Not always a boundary you can see or measure clearly, but you feel it. You feel it as me. A sense of being here, a sense of being someone, a sense of existing within certain edges. And inside that frame, life happens. Every experience you have takes place within a field of perception. There is no experience outside of it. The frame is not just a thought about life. It is the condition through which life is experienced. You experience yourself as this human being, in this body, with this mind, in this world. You do not experience life as another person. You do not experience the world as the bird sitting on a branch outside the window. You can imagine, you can empathize, you can project. But even imagination and empathy, this is the hidden structure of ordinary life. We live inside a total sense of being someone, and within that larger sense, we constantly update smaller perceptions. What we believe love is becomes the way love reaches us. What we believe work is becomes the way work feels. What we believe failure means becomes the way failure wounds us. What we believe we are becomes the world we keep living inside. Perception becomes experience. Then experience strengthens perception. and the circle closes. Most of our life unfolds inside this circle without us even knowing it. Joy and sorrow, pleasure and pain, gain and loss, success and failure. Experience after experience fills the life we have known, not in a day, not through an act of will, not because we decide to finish the process faster. It happens according to the rhythm of life itself. Slowly, patiently, sometimes painfully, and then at a certain point, pressure begins to build, not ordinary pressure. Not the pressure of one problem that can be solved. This is not simply because the job is wrong, or because a relationship is difficult, or because a certain circumstance has become uncomfortable. Those things may be present, but the pressure of awakening is deeper than any single situation. It is the feeling that the whole structure of your existence has become too tight, as if the world you have been living inside can no longer contain what life is asking you to see. This is where the cracks begin. A person may suddenly begin asking questions that are not merely intellectual. Why am I here? What is this life really about? Who is the one living it? Why does everything I have been chasing feel strangely incomplete? Why does every answer I find still leave something untouched? These questions are not decorations. They are cracks in the frame. They appear when something in us begins to sense a limit. Something has been contained for too long. Something cannot be reached by ordinary effort anymore. And then, if the pressure becomes complete, there can be a breaking, a rupture, a collapse of the frame itself. This is awakening. Imagine a balloon. The balloon is the frame of perception. The air being pumped into it is experience. Every joy, every wound, every longing, every disappointment, every love, every loss enters the same space. The balloon expands. For a while, it can contain everything. It stretches, it adapts, it makes room, but eventually, it reaches its limit. And when enough experience, enough pressure, enough inner fullness has gathered, the balloon bursts. The air inside is suddenly released into the open space around it. This is the image of awakening. Not because something is destroyed in a negative sense, but because what was compressed inside a narrow shape is released from that shape. It returns to the vastness it was never truly separate from. This is why awakening is not merely a shift in perspective. It is not just becoming more positive. It is not moving from sadness to peace. It is not replacing confusion with clarity. It is not finding a better mental position inside the same old self. All of those may be valuable, but they are still movements inside the frame. The cage remains. Only the location inside the cage has changed. Awakening is different. Awakening is the breaking open of the cage itself. It is not a better view from inside the room. It is the collapse of the room as the only reality you knew. In that moment, the dense feeling of being a separate, solid center can fall away. Not as an idea, not as a belief, not as something you repeat to yourself, but as a direct absence. The old center is no longer standing where it used to stand. And this is the taste of liberation. It is not self-denial. It is not becoming nothing in some cold or empty way. It is a return. Like the air inside the balloon when the balloon breaks. The air does not disappear. It is not destroyed. It is simply no longer trapped inside a small, artificial boundary. It returns to the open space. And in that return, it is not becoming something else. It is becoming free from the shape that had confined it. This is why an awakening moment can feel so sacred. It is not sacred because it is dramatic. It is not sacred because it makes you special. It is not sacred because you can now call yourself awakened. It is sacred because, for a moment, the life of a separate person is balanced by something non-personal. A whole lifetime of tension can be met by a moment of vast release. A whole lifetime of fragmentation can be touched by a wholeness that does not divide itself. A whole lifetime of struggling inside the personal can suddenly open into something that is not against the personal, but is no longer trapped inside. This is different from the ordinary balances we experience in life. When you want an object and finally get it, there is a small balance. A desire is satisfied. When there is a problem in your career and you solve it, there is a balance in that area of life. When a need is met, something settles. But these are partial balances. They happen in one corner of life. One need, one fear, one wound, one desire, one situation. They matter, but they do not dissolve the whole structure. The deeper pressure remains. The sense of being a separate self, moving through a divided world remains awakening touches something more total. It is not a solution to one problem. It is not an answer to one question. It is not the satisfaction of one desire. It is the release of the entire frame that made all those problems, questions and desires feel like the whole of reality. This is why the moment cannot be produced by force. You cannot manufacture it by effort alone. You cannot make it happen by wanting it hard enough. You cannot turn it into a personal achievement and still understand what it is. Because awakening, in its deepest sense, is not the balance created by the separate self. It is the balance of life itself. The balance of existence itself. We do not own it. We are allowed to taste it. And if even once we have truly touched that threshold, something meaningful has already happened. A stage of existence has completed itself. Not because the story is over, not because the personality has disappeared forever, not because there will be no confusion, no pain, no return of old patterns. After awakening, there may still be much to meet. There may be integration, there may be shadow, there may be old conditioning, there may be the strange difficulty of living after a glimpse of what cannot be contained. That is the story of the present, but it does not erase the truth of what was touched. If the cage once broke open, even for a moment, that moment belongs to the deepest meaning of a human life. We do not need to cling to it. We do not need to make an identity out of it. We do not need to turn it into a spiritual badge, but we can honor it. Quietly, because spiritual awakening is not the self becoming more impressive. It is the moment when the frame of the self can no longer hold the whole of life. It is the bursting of the boundary, the falling away of the cage, the return of what was compressed into the vastness it had never truly left. And perhaps when the question comes again, what is spiritual awakening? We no longer answer too quickly. We let the question remain alive, because the real answer is not something the mind can hold. It is something the frame of the mind must one day become too small to contain.